I've never seen a microphone like this. This is so light and small and pretty good. Are there any veterans in our audience today? One, two. Going once, going twice. That'll make this a lot easier. Thank you very much. Thank you for your service. I have a veteran visitor log I would like you to register on and pass that down if you could, please.
Okay.
That's just telling my bosses that I'm actually doing a job today. So we'll go with that. Should I stand behind here or walk around? What do you like? You can hear me okay, right? Okay, so this has to be right here. Now that's much better. Okay, guys, right here on your chin. Yeah. Thank you very much for welcoming us, the veteran representation of El Dorado County. I guess I'll take credit for that. No, Dave Zielinski will take credit for that because he's a member of your organization?
Yeah.
Okay, so as we in the military say, thanks a lot, Dave, because we get volunteered and voluntold, and we kind of end up doing some random things throughout the years. My name's Tim Whalen. I'm with the VA. I'm being paid by the VA right now. Otherwise, I'm very active in the veteran community. So when I say I'm with the VA, there's many departments that are attached to the VA. So I work for the Vet Center program. I'll get into that a little bit later on, but we're happy to be here. I understand you receive information from all kinds of groups throughout your year, and hopefully you have questions for us. Are there lots of family members of veterans? I saw there's only 2 vets in the audience, but family members? Okay, and so they're all around, and so we can help with that understanding of the service as we go. I think I'll switch it up. I'll just introduce myself first, and you all have the online the bio that you sent out. So I don't know if you guys studied that. I'm going to quiz you on it. What's my service? You don't know. You shouldn't know. So I served in the Navy. I was in from 1984 to 2006. So I retired as a chief torpedoman's mate. They don't have torpedoman's mates in the Navy anymore. They changed the name of all that about the time I got out. I got out in 2006. Right after that, I went to work for a veteran organization called Disabled American Veterans. And that's where I learned about the VA service-connected disability rating process. That's a program that I'll explain in depth a little bit later if we need to. But if a veteran is injured or otherwise has a health condition that was attained or acquired because of or during their military service, our society, the federal government, compensates them monetarily and medically for that injury or illness. Okay, so that's how the VA is taking care of your veterans. All right. Once I got out of I transitioned from DAV. I went to the state. I worked for Employment Development Department as a veterans employment specialist, and I did that actually. Where are we? Oh, at the station, the Missouri station, when the EDD was over there, and they had a one-stop shop for employment. That was right during the recession of 2008. So I worked with the EDD for about 5 years throughout that recession where employment was really challenging, especially in El Dorado County. After that, I applied for and got a job with the VA, with the Vet Center where I am now. So I'm going on 15 years with the VA at the Vet Center. Okay, the Vet Center is a Veterans Health Administration. We're a separate program from the hospitals and outpatient clinics. We do trauma counseling. We do PTSD counseling for veterans. When I say veterans, I include active duty service members, National Guard, and reservists who either served in a combat zone or who experienced any level of military sexual trauma, because that's a traumatic experience to have. So those are the 2 main pillars. Another pillar is we do bereavement counseling or grief counseling for, the original eligibility was for Gold Star families, And to understand what a Gold Star family is, that's an immediate family member who has lost a loved one while they were on active duty. A lot of people think that it's if they were lost in combat, if they were killed in combat. That's also true, but if the service member was on active duty and they passed away, you become a Gold Star family. And so we provide grief counseling for those services. We offer individual counseling, we do support groups, and we do marriage and family therapy or couples counseling. And then my position there is I'm an outreach specialist. So I get out into the community. I go to wherever there's an event or an opportunity to present and basically explain what we do, like I just did. But then because I have this big VA logo all over, I get all kinds of questions about what, healthcare benefits and ID cards and filing for a disability rating and things like that. So if there are any questions later on, I'm happy to either lie to you and tell you the wrong answer, or I might even know the answer. Yes, ma'am.
Could you speak about the homeless vets?
We could speak about the homeless vets. Yes, absolutely. The homeless vets. Talk about the homeless vet.
Oh, no, I'm sorry.
Oh, wrong thing. Okay. Well, generally speaking, I personally believe that our society, meaning the government, is doing a good job of really curtailing the homeless veteran population. I know that in our community, right here at they call it the Navigation Center, which used to be the juvenile detention facility. They turned that into a homeless center, and I believe they have 60 beds. And a group called Volunteers of America runs it through government or county donate or grant money. It's not specifically for veterans, but we know there are veterans there. So my group, Military Family Support Group, we have funding from the County Veteran Commission. The funding comes from the TOT funding. Anybody know what TOT is? Transient Occupancy Tax. So whenever you stay at a hotel or somebody comes up to visit, they're paying a tax. It's TOT. And then so a chunk of that goes to the Veteran Commission, and then we get grants for whatever service that we provide. Military Family Support Group has a group right here called Eldorado Veteran Resources. Eldorado Veteran Resources is basically, we call it a year-round stand-down, meaning for any veteran that has a need that we can help with, we'll do our best to fund it or find a resource that can help fund that. I specialize in basically mobility equipment now. Used to be we would get donations of household goods, estate sales. They'd want to donate their whatever it is to a veteran because that's where their heart is. Well, we started getting sofas and recliners and refrigerators and washers and dryers and all that stuff. We don't have the space for that. So, and it's bulky, and one person can't, haul all that stuff around and deliver it. But what we did when we received it, we would make it open to any veteran for free because we got it for free, so they can have whatever we have. That transitioned to basically mobility equipment because we found that family members, whether the vet or whoever it is, usually a veteran, if they pass away or if they recover and they've gotten these mobility devices issued to them, well, they're like the hospice or the thrift stores, they don't necessarily want to get involved in receiving medical mobility equipment. So we take it, we kind of turn it around, maybe replace a battery and give it to a veteran in need. And if the veteran or their spouse or their kids or whoever, maybe even their neighbor, if it's a humanitarian need, here you go, you got it. So it's a gift, they own it. And then if we happen to get it back because there's recovery, then we just put it back in the stockpile and keep putting it out there. Going off of, I'm sorry, I got on a tangent, but homeless veterans, down in, so we have the Navigation Center in Amador County, and they just picked up Placer County. A group called Victory Village is another nonprofit organization, and they have veterans transitional housing. They took an old motel off of the corner of 49 and 88 in Jackson, and so they have, I think it's 20 beds. A veteran can live there for free for up to 2 years in a program until they, get back on their feet and get sober or get right or get what they need, and then they're able to move on. They also have what's called a grant per diem program, where it's very low income or low cost housing for veterans. And so they have acquired a couple of houses where they have residential living. So there might be a shared bedroom, but it's like a community living. So they'll be staying in a house, and there might be two veterans per room. Sometimes they have rooms for a family, so it'll be a couple and their young child or something like that. Okay. Some of the barriers to, and then I'm sorry, down in by Sacramento, near the Mather VA hospital, there's what's called Veteran Village, which is almost brand new. It's about 5 years old. They've been building on it for a while. There's 150 beds for chronically homeless veterans. And so they've been through the system. They must have been on a homeless list for 2 years, and then they qualify to go into this permanent housing. And so when they get back on their feet, they can choose to move out, or they can stay forever if they want to. But next to that, what used to be the Air Force Base are barracks, 3-story, 3-tier barracks, where another group, the county, is a partner. They can, like, if you were a homeless vet right now and I said, do you need a shelter? We could go down there. They could be in there tonight if they needed to be. Some of the barriers there is, veterans in particular are pretty opposed to being told what to do once they're out. So they don't like the rules involved. I'm not talking about all of them. This is just some of the ones that kind of put resistance to it. Sometimes there's the restriction on pets or the time of the day that you have to come in and out with the curfew. So we'll move on. So that's the homeless veteran program. Now I'm going to pass the mic, and we're going to introduce, where's Mike? Mike Berkery.
I get to be first,
You get to be first.
All right. My name is Mike Berkery. Closer? Yeah. How's that? Better? All right. I joined the Marine Corps at age 18, went to Vietnam, spent 2 years in Vietnam, 1967 to 1969. After I got out of the Marine Corps, I joined the fire department. I did 36 years with Sac Metro Fire. I retired, and my wife said, get out. Do something. Get out. So she found, actually, the VFW, and she said, you are going to join, period, no discussion. So I joined Post 2680 in Placerville. What we do, we raise a lot of money. I mean, we have things that go on. Buddy Poppy, you see out there handing out those little pink poppies, and we raise a lot of money, but we give it all away. We don't keep any of it. Every year we have a list of things at the end of the year that we donate to. One of the biggest ones is our national home, and it's in Michigan somewhere. I'm not sure. I can never remember the name of the town, but the national home will take a fallen veteran's child from kindergarten all the way through college. And they have residents there to where a family can go and live there till they get on their feet from a fallen veteran. we give a lot of money to them because that is really a good thing. The other thing we give money to two things. We give money to veterans and their families or children. Last year, we had a veteran that was on hard times. Our friend David Zielinski gave me a call. Mike, I need your help. Okay, what do you need? Well, this guy has 8 kids, and he lost his job. His wife's mad at him, and he's really in a hurt. So what can you do for him? I took it back to the Post. We voted on it, and we supplied that family with an entire Christmas tree, ornaments, dinner, presents for every kid and the mom and dad. So that's the kind of thing we do. Now, this year, our friend David Zielinski called me up and said, Mike, I need your help. He had a list of families. It turns out there were 4, but it turns out 1 turned us down. He said, they're hurting. Okay, well, what can we do for them, David? He says, you figure it out. So I contacted the families, and we are supplying them with Thanksgiving dinner, and each family is getting a $100 gift card for Save Mart for groceries. So those are the kind of things we do, and that we do a lot of it in the county for people like that. We have given a veteran, we bought a veteran 4 tires for his car because he was being deployed and his family had to go back east. His tires were no good. He had no money. We gave him tires. What the heck? Come on in. We'll give you tires. Sure, why not? We just serve. That's what we're there for. And all the money we get, we have no overhead. No overhead at all. I mean, we're all volunteers. We're no overhead. We're a 501c. So every penny we get goes right back out to the community and to the vets and children. So, does anybody have any questions for me?
Is your wife happy now?
Well, sometimes. Like right now, she's probably really happy I'm not home. Yeah. Okay. Well, thank you. Who's next? You?
I was standing next to Mike, so I made me number 2.
Oh, that's right.
Yeah. My name is Mike Metz. I've been in Placerville, living here since '86, and I'm a retired state park ranger. Went about 33 years in the state parks. But my veteran service basically started back in 1970. I got my first job as a park ranger, and 2 months in Ventura, then I got a letter saying, we need you. So I put everything back in the car and showed up in Oakland, and off I went to Fort Ord. But I never expected to be in the military, but Uncle Sam does stuff like that. So I'm a member of Eldorado Post 119, the American Legion, and our post is on Greenstone Road, and I'm sure a few of you have been over there for one occasion or another. The purpose of the American Legion was to help veterans and veterans' families. Sounds familiar because our tasks are really very similar. In 1918, when the First World War ended, there really wasn't anything in the way of programs to help veterans. But the veterans realized that if you go to war, things happen and you need help, and families need help. So in the very end of 1918, in Paris, a whole bunch of veterans got together and they said, what do we do? All right, so they created an American Legion. Legion because it was kind of a nice thing to say when you're in France, so that stuck. It's with us ever since. And essentially the idea was that if you want a voice to work with the government to get you the things you need, you have to have a lot of people behind you that are saying the same thing. And it's been a long process, but now we have a lot of communication and activities with the VA, with local organizations, community service, taking care of people. Like David is our service officer, so he's always advising us who he runs into, what he needs, and trying to basically raise money so that we can turn that money over and support veterans' needs. The real connection between the post and the veteran, the person who comes in off the street, is through the Veterans Service Office. We are very, very fortunate that our Veterans Service Office is really tremendous. If you want to know anything about what you can do, what can be done, what form to fill out, where to go, they can do this. And I'm really happy because when I first joined the post back in the mid-2000s, early 2000s, our veteran service officer basically had a cigar box with some money in it. And if somebody came by the veterans building and said, oh, I need a little help, they'd open up the cigar box and, okay, what do you need? Well, okay, there you go. Oh, it's much more sophisticated now. We have, with all the help with the Veteran Service Office, the help that David does, it seems like he does it 25 hours a day, and then working with the courts and with a lot of veterans who have trouble staying out of trouble with the law or being incarcerated. It's amazing how many people he can help, tries to help, and you have some victories, and then you have some people that are not, just don't want to help. Okay, we'll do what we can. But, you know, I've just been a member of the post, and if you come by the beer tree, we have beer. And that money goes into the pot, and that goes for veterans. But the American Legion helped with the very first swimming pool and a golf course and a number of other things. It's just amazing. This little town, with all of the people that they had, did an awful lot of stuff to help the community and the veterans. So I'm not going to keep talking. So, next.
Well, I'm going to break a little bit and sit down as my back is not doing me any favors. I may be responsible for this gathering, and that one day I was having lunch with some friends that are here, and I was wearing my cap, and the question came up, well, what did you do in Vietnam? Well, I did a lot of things, but some were good, some were funny, some were serious. Anyway, I didn't know what I was going to say till I sat down here and took the mic, but I'm going to entertain questions about my travels. I'll start out with, in '66, when I was 26 years old, working as a construction engineer, I got that letter. It said, report to Fort Ord. Well, I spent the winter there, and then I wound up in Fort Belvoir, Virginia. That's the Army Engineering School. I was going to be a cartographic draftsman, making maps. Well, because I was drafted partway through the class, they said, we need your seat, because someone else had enlisted for that MOS, military job specialty. So anyway, I left. Well, I was at Fort Ord with nothing to do, and I said, well, I have a year and a half to spend in this outfit, so I will do something. So I got a clipboard, and I found out that if you have a clipboard and you walk smartly, you can go anywhere and do anything as long as you're not getting in trouble. Anyway, I'm going to turn this over to Tim.
Now I'm in charge.
Yeah. So I spent quite a long time there, and you could only do so much time in the cafeteria or in the library. So I started attending a class in construction drafting. Halfway through the class, the instructor says, well, I don't have any paperwork for you. Well, what are you doing here? Just going to school. So I completed the class and, well, back in the cafeteria again. Then by that time, you get to know a lot of people that cut orders and send people here and there. Finally, one day, the guy says, I got a job for you. It's at Redstone Arsenal, Alabama, the missile school. I said, sounds good to me, let's go. So I was there with only 8 months to go before my term was up. Then someone said, we need you in Vietnam. Well, I said, okay, here we go. I arrived in Saigon, the closing days of Tet. So I went through Saigon with cars burning here and there and made my way to a little town on the coast called Nha Trang. It's a little town a few miles north of Cam Ranh Bay, and that's where Bob was flying out of. You'll hear about that. So I was there as a draftsman attached to a signal outfit where they handled all of the communications in and out of the country. I don't know if you remember the Pueblo incident. That was the headquarters where all the communications came through. So we know firsthand just what was going on. Towards the end of that, my time was getting close, and I figured out, well, I was due to get out in October, but if I go back to school, which I was going, I needed a few weeks early. Well, actually, it was about 6 weeks early. So I told the commanding officer, hey, I need to get out to go back to school. Fine, that's good. So I jumped on a plane, and I went down to Cam Ranh Bay, and a few days later, I had scheduled a flight back to the States. Well, I didn't want to wait that few days, so I just went and got on a plane with my clipboard. So I got out early. That was my 22 months. So in the travels, I learned a lot. I saw a lot. Like I said, some was good, some was not so good. When I got back here, I went to work for the telephone company, and after a few years, I got to meet my wife, Judy, which I think all of you know her, and thank you. So anyway, we wound up here. I got to think, where am I headed next? So anyway, for about 40 years, Judy knew that I was in the Army, but nothing about it. For 40 years. And part of it was from people like Jane Fonda. And when I came back to the States, wanted to go back to school. Because I had been going to school, I had a high priority number at San Diego State. I went in the back door of registration, saw what was going on. I walked out the front door, through all of the people that were yelling and screaming and carrying on. I said, I could make it myself in this world. Where's my clipboard? So anyway, I've done fairly well. We're doing okay. But that was my tour for the Army. And now, in the last 10 years, after wearing a cap and being able to talk to people and relate, and some of you have asked for in-depth discussions, I'm trying to heal from my life being turned totally upside down. And at times it has not been easy, and sometimes it's just plain funny. So I can entertain any questions, but beyond that, I'm going to let Bob talk.
Thank you, Dick. I'm going to lean on the lectern up here. So Let me tell you at the outset here that my wife and I have been here in El Dorado County for now 55 years, like a lot of you folks too, and we certainly love it here. Introducing myself first as Bob Penn, with my wife Diane of 60 years. I'm going to cut short a little bit of my delivery here because I don't know what the time frame is that you'd like, Mark. But I want to tell you I feel it a privilege to share this panel with these fellows who have colorful military careers. Mine's a little abbreviated to some extent as to compared to theirs, but I feel it a great privilege to be up here with them. I wanted to also say that, and I think Dick kind of alluded to it, that I wanted those veterans returning from Vietnam, this is hard for me to say, but all those veterans returning from Vietnam and those who didn't return, it's rather pleasurable now to see the public sentiment going in a positive direction now for all the people who went to Vietnam. It's rather refreshing. My personal military history, I guess, started in 1959 in the Air Force ROTC program at Berkeley. Once graduated there, I was very fortunate to get a pilot training position in the Air Force down in Arizona. Once through that program, I was assigned, like everyone else in my pilot training class, to particular positions that the Air Force needed filled. It could have been a helicopter operation, a cargo airplane, a fighter airplane, or back into the training system. Wherever the Air Force needed you, you were assigned an airplane position based on your class performance in your pilot training year. If I remember correctly, I was in the top half or maybe the top third of my pilot training class, which was part of academics as well as your flying talents that you demonstrated over the year. As it turns out, I was assigned to a F4 program at MacDill Air Force Base in Tampa, Florida. The F4, the Navy developed as a rather large fighter aircraft with 2 large engines and 2 pilot seats. The Navy and Marines fly that airplane with 1 pilot. The Air Force decided they wanted 2 pilots in it, so they had all their airplanes delivered, the F-4C, with dual flight controls so that the airplane could be flown from either seat. And I was positioned there as the newbie, if you will, a second pilot with a more experienced other pilot. That airplane held speed records for decades. It would do Mach 2 plus. So I never saw it at Mach 2, I saw it at Mach 1. And practice intercept operations off the eastern coast of Florida. That's the airplane we took over to Vietnam in November. This is November 2025. This was in November 1965, exactly 60 years ago. So hopefully you'll give me some latitude in recalling times, places, and events. We were based in Cam Ranh Bay. It's a new port that the U.S. opened up halfway up the South Vietnamese coast. Our mission there, almost exclusively, was close air support, which meant fighter operations supporting ground troops that are in combat environments. 80% of our work was doing that. Occasionally, we'd be assigned to fly escort around a big 4-engine prop airplane loaded with avionics and electronic gear such that those fellows in that airplane they're doing racetrack patterns in the top of the Gulf of Tonkin, and we had 4 F-4s flying escort for them. They were looking down, say from 30,000 feet down into Hanoi and other areas. They could tell us when the North Vietnamese were starting engines to give us really early warning. So we were armed with missiles primarily, either Sparrow radar-guarded missiles or Sidewinder heat-seeking missiles. They never challenged us. They would never come up because of our armament was so superior to theirs. After about 11 months in Vietnam, I was allowed to go home for family reasons and was out of the service rather quickly and very fortunate enough to secure a job with Pan American as a relief pilot, and navigator. And I did that for several years and until I switched over the engineer seat because they were making more money. After flying for Pan Am for a couple of years, a couple of Pan Am colleagues said, "We're flying Marine." I was in the Air Force, active duty. "We're flying Marine Reserve A4s. It's a small, little, single-engine, single-pilot attack aircraft over at Alameda. Would you please come over and fly with us?" So I went through a little training to get Navy wings and went to Alameda and flew there for about almost 4 or 5 years. It was kind of like a flying club. They were begging us to fly because if we didn't fly and burn up the fuel that the government had allotted for them for that year, you wouldn't get it the next year. So we had at our disposal to go and check out an A4 and fly wherever we wanted to. That was quite interesting the time there. I had a lot of interesting things to do there. In particular, one I found very satisfying due to aircraft carrier qualifications in 1971. I want to finish just by telling you a brief personal story that's true. And it's kind of like one of those, it's a small world story. After about 5 months or 6 months in Vietnam, one of our pilots by the name of Joe Rosado was directed by our leadership to go back to Tampa and brief our wives on how safe our operation was. And he did so. On his return, he told our wives how safe our operation was. And on his return, briefing our wives there, he had flown for about a week after that and was shot down. I'm sorry. And the interesting part there, a small world, is that Joe Rosado was a close friend of a gentleman named Jack Burrow. Jack Burrow was Diane's older brother. I'm sorry, folks. It's very personal. But anyway, Joe was not recovered. The other pilot with him was recovered. But that's the vagaries of wartime climates, isn't it? Thank you.
So we have a lot of fun in the military, but there's a lot of hardship too. There's a term or a phrase called "hurry up and wait." All right, we get conditioned from boot camp on to don't ever be late, because if you're late, then everybody's doing push-ups, and it's your fault. But there's a lot of downtime, and so there's a lot of emotional there's thought process, there's training, there's, preparing for what the worst that can happen will happen. And then the hurry up part is get there and respond and make it happen. So that happens a lot. The
Marine Corps calls it standby to stand by. There might be a maybe.
standby to stand by, there might be a maybe.
That's from the Marine Corps.
And they say, "Hoorah!" And the Navy says, "Hoo-yah," and the Army says,
Let me tell a little story about.
"Go ahead."
Can you hear me through this?
No.
Is it good? We go to the Protestant Christian school on Motherlode Drive over there in Shingle Springs. Every year we do it. And we teach the outgoing fourth grade that's going into fifth grade, we teach them how to fold the flag, how to respect the flag, everything about raising the flag, lowering the flag, half staff. We teach them everything, the fourth grade, because the fifth grade class is in charge of the flags at that school. That is an incredible school, I might say. Well, this year, we had a new teacher. And I think she was a new teacher because she came in and told me, "Sir, they're a little rowdy. Sometimes they don't listen." And, she could have told it to Primo or anybody else, but she told it to me. So I said, "Okay, leave it to me." So I walked over, and there's a couple of little girls over here giggling, and there's some boys over there kicking each other and doing that. And I went, "Hurrah!" And they all went. and I said, "Are you listening now?" One little girl said, "Sir, you scared me." And I looked at her, I said, "It's the idea. Now you got to listen to me, period." And they all did. It was a really good experience anyway, but that's where URA comes in.
He scared me a little bit there. And I'm Navy. We don't listen to Marines ever. So there's a lot going on. I mentioned, let's see, there's in town, there's a group called Veteran Voices Writing Workshop. That's a separate thing that happens at the Arts and Culture building on Main Street. There's a nonprofit in the area. It's called Only Kindness. They get involved in helping veterans through hard times. There are, the Upper Room. You've heard of the Upper Room, right? And they're very helpful. All the service organizations get very much involved. So and I've been only here since 2007. I got in Placerville. But the veteran community has come together and collaborated a lot. It used to be, it was almost like we're opposition, like don't come into my little zone, we do this. But I think you learn that when you work with each other, you can help more people in a better way because everybody has some wisdom on whatever the solution is to the problem. And you get less taken advantage of by those who will try and take everything from everybody. So there's pros and cons to all that. But yeah, if you have any comments or concerns or anything, please.
Yeah, I just bought a big page of stamps that say, postage stamps that say healing PTSD. And I'm wondering if, how many of the people, the vets who are mentally ill, are really getting the help they actually need?
Can I answer that?
Repeat the question.
She wants to know how many vets are getting help by PTSD. I'm 100% PTSD. That's from the vet center. I started there. One of Tim's buddies gave me a list, and he said, "Read this list. Is any of that you?" So that's not me. Take it home and show it to your wife. Well, that turns out to be, oh yeah, this one here is not you, but the rest of them are. So I went to the vet center, and Tim knows her, Dr. Keenan, and Dr. Lumley, but she left. They both left actually by now, but they're incredible. They're absolutely incredible. When I got my final dispensation at 100%, I didn't know. I went in and I showed her the letter. I didn't even really know what it meant. And she read the letter. This is how great these counselors are at the VA. She read that letter, and she looked at me, and, excuse my language now, she looked up at me and said, "See, I told you you were an asshole." You have to do that to vets. You can't baby a vet. You have to do that. And those ladies there, those two that I mentioned were the two that I saw, were really, really good at that. And they didn't put up with any of our crap. They didn't put up with any drama, nothing. I mean, you get through it. I could walk through the door to see her when I had my personal time with her. I could walk through the door and she'd look at me and say, "What's wrong?" "Well, I just got pulled over." "Well, why are you mad? You were speeding." "Well, you didn't have to pull me over." "Shut up and listen to what yourself." You know, that kind of thing. She's just, well, you know, Dr. Keenan, she's just the greatest. And that's the kind of help the VA's given us. It changed me almost 100%. I think I saw her for 5 years. And it changed my whole life. So, yeah, we get help if you want it. Some guys don't want it.
Do you remember the movie Full Metal Jacket with Arlie Ermy?
Yes.
And he's the drill sergeant. Anyway, what's another one? Lou Gossett Jr. in Officer and a Gentleman, right? So that's what the two counselors were like. In the right setting. They're sweet and kind and all that stuff. So,
I got up at one session, we had a whole thing up there, and we were triggers. We were talking about triggers. And I said, I don't like to be touched when I'm, like if somebody just reaches over and grabs you. The guy next to me, who we were thinking is a little off, grabbed my hand. Well, I immediately got up, had him by the throat, and was up on the wall. Those two women were in my ears. "Put him down, I'll break your arm." I put him down. And Dr. Keenan, "Get in my office right now." You feel like a little kid. But they were just really tough, really good. I mean, it wasn't what I thought that a psychologist would be like. You know, I thought, no, it's touchy-feely BS. That wasn't it. It was just down, nitty-gritty. Here's how it is, and here's how it's going to be. So they were just great. I just really can't say enough.
and I think the reason for that, and if you've ever seen any traditional psychology, any counseling session, there's sensitivity involved. But knowing that they're working with military veterans who've been through the boot camp and the, all that, training, that's kind of how you have to deal with it. I just passed out the brochure for the Vet Center, for Citrus Heights Vet Center Service. The reason why is just because we're talking about PTSD. If you flip to the internal back page where it says the header of PTSD, and you see the variety of symptoms associated with post-traumatic stress, the thing about that diagnosable condition, we'll call it the umbrella of post-traumatic stress, is it can present in many different ways. So, there might be a stereotype of an angry, aggressive, overbearing, rude, or, whatever you want to call it. You could have, it can go from one side to the other. So, like a stereotype might be a homeless veteran who just can't function. But the opposite of that is somebody who overachieves and who does all of the work just to avoid the thoughts and feelings and the alone time. So, you don't know, And just like anybody you see on the street, you don't know what they've been through that day or in their childhood or anything like that. So we strive as the Vet Center Counseling to bring that out and to discover what are your emotional issues and how can we help you overcome those to be more social, I guess, or more, well, not fixed. We're not going to, I always say we don't sprinkle pixie dust and fix you. We just help you to get through the day a little bit better. So, good question. Thank you for that. Anybody else? Please.
I will praise the Veterans Administration. My husband died in June of Navy-acquired mesothelioma, and they were nothing but wonderful and talked me through after his death, and it was just a good experience, so.
Very good. Thank you for that. So Military Family Support Group, you're very welcome. If there's ever any need, please feel free to call, and I've got the cards over there. Just if you need any kind of help whatsoever, we're there for you. Sir, go ahead.
I'm about the same age as these fellas. I didn't serve in the military. I was in the Peace Corps. But I remember being in San Francisco when some troops came back. They were on a bus. People were giving them the finger, booing them. And I thought it was just terrible. And I hear some of that in some of your conversation today. And I'm thinking, has it taken 20, 30 years before you feel comfortable talking about this now?
Not really.
I'm not
Not really.
comfortable at all.
Yeah. When I came home between my two tours, I got on a flight in LA to fly to San Francisco. I grew up in San Mateo. So I flew to San Francisco. There was one other Marine on the flight with me, a young guy, 19 years old, and he said, "Buy me a drink. Come on, man, buy me a drink. I'm not old enough." I'm thinking, neither am I, you know, but I'll do it, sure. But the stewardess showed up at our two seats and said, "Whatever you want, as much as you want, as fast as you can drink it, it's on the plane." We were on a business flight from LA to San Francisco, all three-piece suit guys in there. Well, I got off the plane, barely. The stewardess had to actually help me down the gangway. And I'd called my brother to pick me up, just you, pick me up. I don't want a bunch of people. There were 30 people out there to pick me up, and I was so pissed off. I turned around, I thought, and I turned around, that stewardess flipped me around. She said, "Go hug your mother," like that. But here's what they did for me, my family. They crowded around me and didn't let the protesters get there.
Yeah, the first thing I did when I got at Fort Lewis, Washington, went to the SeaTac airport to fly back to San Diego. Get rid of that uniform right now. Whatever you do, get rid of it. Jane Fonda, G.I. Jane, it was bad. I'm suffering today. When young kids see my cap and say, "Welcome home,"
Get you, don't it? Get you.
yeah. Ask my wife. She witnessed it. It's something we never got.
I'll tell you something that was really hard. I mean, with the VFW, we go and speak at schools all the time. Teachers call us, "Can you come and talk to her?" I have it's hard to talk about, but I have a trigger. It's Vietnamese people. I can't be around them. One Vietnamese boy came up and hugged me. Felt like killing him.
And loving him at the same time, because, yeah. We have veterans going back to I'll say the scene of the crime. They go back to Vietnam, or I've seen World War II guys go back to Normandy. Thank you. Sorry, that was horrible of me. We haven't had a lot of the younger guys have a chance or need to go back to Afghanistan or Iraq, but I know a couple of guys that have. They've come back after getting out of the military, and they'll go back out of a sense of duty and work for the contractors, security and things like that, for whatever reason. They'll get, because they have the need to protect their people. So that's in the list of bullet points there. It's called survivor guilt. I didn't get hurt. They did. I need to go back and do my part. So it's tough.
I won't go back.
So I would say thanks for putting up with whatever you did. You know, what they put up with, you know, for the future generations forever, will never have to tolerate that crap again. So thank you for putting up with that for us.
When I was in college, I was at Sac State in 67, 68. And in our dorm, curiously enough, my roommate during the first semester or so, he was from South Vietnam, and he was over in the United States to take and get more education. He had been an officer, and so he was going to get his education and then go back. Well, around the corner in the next room, there was a fellow from North Vietnam, and they didn't really interface very much, but they didn't make an issue out of it particularly. But it was curious. Here I am in California, and you've got people, you know, they're fighting a war over there. They're going to school over here. Now, God knows whatever became of everybody, but that was something that was, it kind of tuned you in. It wasn't TV, it was real people that got to spend time with. And yeah, I didn't go to Vietnam. When I got out of boot camp at Fort Ord, I went to Fort Bliss, Texas, and went to the Nike Hercules school for figuring out how to do radars. Did that, went over to Germany, and they have lots of radars. They had Nike Hercules sites all over Germany and Europe. They were many. And so, no radar for me. They said, we could really use you downrange. You can be what they would call a rail ape, because you got to push the missiles around on the rails if you were pushing them in or out the warehouses. Yeah, okay, that was fine. Most of the time I spent in the guard tower, because you were on 24, off 24, and most of my time was up in the guard tower, about 30 feet up in the air, watching the night pass by. So it was not overly exciting, and you just hoped there was nobody out there who wanted to shoot at you because you were a perfect target to get shot at, but it didn't happen. But all that effort and everything we had made it possible that nothing happened. Nothing. I figured out even if half the stuff we had worked, that would be sufficient to fend off whatever the opposition might throw at us. But you know, it was kind of scary everywhere. It was just a little quieter where I was at, but I'm really proud to be companions with my fellow veterans.
And that's like the philosophy of presence of power. So.
Question for Bob. I heard you say, Bob, that
Bob?
ROTC, you were in the Air Force ROTC. Is that correct? Or was it Army?
That is correct, Air Force. And Air Force was active duty time, Marines out of Alameda, reserve unit. Fortunately, as I said, it was a flying club. We were not called to active duty as a Marine there at Alameda. And that was in the early 70s, where they were still sending a lot of airplanes over to Vietnam. Our operation there in 65 was early on. They were just building up tremendously. New airplanes, more people, and but that's it. Air Force. I might say on this thing about how veterans are treated, there was a gentleman who was in the Air Force flying cargo airplanes as it was out of Cameron Bay. He left there, he was from Berkeley, had graduated from Cal and the Air Force, and he is presently writing books. The four in a series of books, there's 4 already in print. The title was From Vietnam to Western Airlines. And there was a tremendous number of pilots who had served in Vietnam who secured jobs with Western right after they got back. But since he was from Berkeley, he was returning home during the days of the free speech movement. And there was a lot of political turmoil at Cal at that time. He was picked up by his parents in San Francisco on his return, and he was in full uniform. As they approached Berkeley, they approached a barricade. They had the police out and settled things in Berkeley because of the rabble-rousing that was taking place. So they counseled him, either take we can put you through this barricade, you can go to your home. His parents had a home there in Berkeley, and so he took off his dress top and things, and they continued on. But that was a tough time. The police captain in charge of this barricade says, we can't let you go through there unless you take that coat off. But it's a pretty sad condition, wasn't it?
Might be kind of a controversial question, but I have a friend who's now deceased who was a conscientious objector at that time. And I wonder, I don't hear much about conscientious objectors nowadays, but there must be men and women who are conscientious objectors.
Well, there's no draft now, so it's a volunteer situation.
Oh, good point.
However, there are MOSs or jobs that are non-combatant. So, I mean, it's,
Have you ever heard of Desmond Doss? He was a conscientious objector in World War II, although he insisted on serving. He wouldn't touch a weapon. He saved 79 soldiers on Okinawa in one night by himself. Conscientious objector, but he wouldn't touch a weapon.
That's interesting, thank you.
got any fun ones? How's the food on a ship? Bad.
I got a food one.
You got a food one?
My dad sent me the Christmas dinner menu from the prison. They were having the beef, the big beef dinner, you know, all the trimming, prime rib, and all the trimmings and stuff. I didn't even get dinner on Christmas. I didn't even get a can of beans or nothing. You know, that's kind of sad. I thought that was pretty mean of my dad to do that.
I think you guys had sea rats. Sea rats. So that was just the can, and then you have the.
I actually got, in sea rations, it comes with a packet of 4 cigarettes.
Yep, Lucky Strikes.
Lucky Strikes. But did you ever get one in the green pack?
My dad did.
Yeah, pre-1940. Well, I got that. I got that in 1968. I'm a little stale. Yeah. Just a little.
Any more questions? Any comments? Well, okay.
As you can tell, I think all of us up here and those that aren't here have scars. We're trying to heal. Bear with us, if you will. We can get over it. But recognize that we went through something that'll probably never happen again, and do what you can to keep it from happening.
I just want to thank Judy Metz for being my good standby and spouse for 55 years.
You're a
And
lucky man.
I'm a lucky man, yes. But Judy actually came to see me in Germany because we were both in Sea Scouts and adult leaders. And so I went back to Germany after leave was over. We were writing letters, and then she had some vacation time. She came to Germany, and we hung out for a couple weeks, got engaged, and I got out a couple months later, got married. Things happen awful fast, you know? But boy, we had a good time, and we still do.
So on behalf of the fellas, it's been an honor and privilege. Thank you very much for having us and listening to our information, our stories. And thank you for your support. I appreciate this.